So, yeah, this Baku here is actually going to save me the trouble of explaining things to you guys, although I guess I can correct him wherever he makes a mistake, which I believe he will. So yeah, first of all, I'm not even paying attention because, as I've mentioned countless times before, I'm terrible at actually reading. Okay, so what he's telling us is that basically you aren't allowed to save scum when you're in the tower at all. You have the option to save after you clear each floor, but yeah, basically you can do like a suspend save where you save and exit, but you can't actually save and continue in the tower. So if you want to save in the tower, you gotta quit your game after completing a floor, which could actually be really irritating if you like, especially as a kid way back in the day when it's like, come on, I almost said my real name there. come on, Jasu, it's time to go now. And it's like, just a second, I gotta find the exit to this floor. And then I'm rushing around and I got this big train of monsters following me, and then I run into a dead end and get killed. And then I cry, and then whatever. We don't need to go into all that. Well, actually, yeah, like he says, handle your data with extreme caution. Okay, now here he's just talking a little bit about how to order your monsters around. You have fairly limited control over what your pet familiars do at any given time. Or you have more specific control over them than some people realize, more than the tutorial actually tells you, as it turns out. But yeah, here is just the shortcut button for that is if you just hit L2 and then just line up here. Then yeah, you can change either your pet's default position, where he's basically just going to try and stay in one of these 8 positions relative to you. I typically like to keep him to the side of me so that we can both be beating on monsters together. And then the other thing is you can change their AI, which is basically from least aggressive to most aggressive. Here they just stay put, follow you. Here's mixture magic is what this refers to, where he basically powers up your attacks with magic but doesn't directly attack himself. Here he attacks directly, and here he attacks aggressively, where he actually chases after monsters, which is usually a terrible idea. I pretty much never ever choose attack aggressively as my option here. So yeah, as you can see, we've got the mini-map on the right, which actually you've got a fair bit of options, especially for the time that this game came out in, as far as the interface goes. Oh, right. Yeah, if I press the triangle button there is what triggers that. Yeah, basically basic information about the triangle button, but so you can choose the size of your mini-map. I typically like just one larger than the smallest, just because at the smallest size it becomes a bit difficult to distinguish the colors of the different dots. And here we picked up a spell ball. It's your basically the same way that spells work in these kind of mystery dungeon roguelike games, where it's got a hidden number of charges. And you can, if you identify the spell ball, it'll tell you how many times you can use it. Otherwise, it's just completely hidden, so you might end up being screwed if you use it too many times and run out of charges without realizing it. So I guess one key feature of roguelikes is that they typically randomize every single floor in the dungeon each time you go in. But this very first floor, the very first time you come in, is always fixed. So this first floor just always looks the same, which actually means that you actually have a fair bit of an advantage the very first time you come into the tower in this game, because you get a lot of guaranteed items in this first floor tutorial bit that you aren't necessarily going to get on subsequent attempts. So actually your very first time at the tower is often like your best opportunity to like make it to a really high floor and make some serious progress, at least if you're experienced with the game. If it's actually your first time ever playing the game. And yeah, here he says run with the O button. And yeah, similar to, or I guess for those of you guys out there who aren't familiar with the genre, even though we're kind of walking around it looks like it might be like an action RPG, this is really like completely turn-based. Enemies will move only at the same time that we do. So yeah, this is basically a turn-based game, similar to any roguelike. So when it says run, it's basically accelerating time is what happens there. I very rarely run in this game. This is a really cool mechanic, fairly unique one as well, I think. I can't think of any other sort of mystery dungeon games that do this off the top of my head. Is, yeah, you can actually pick up items and throw them, and there are a fair number of items that actually have sort of different effects for when you throw them as opposed to when you just use them from your inventory. So yeah, there's it's just pretty cool, I think, how just some added versatility there. And yeah, you can see there's a little shield there hidden behind the little, I don't know what to call that little bump there on the side, which is of course our camera rotation tutorial. Oh yeah, changing the angle, I forgot about that. Oops, that's the wrong button. Yeah, I typically like to keep things, or no, that's the, okay, so that's the zoom out. Yeah, we want to keep zoomed out, and yeah, angled down a little bit, because that gives us just a little bit, if you keep it on a more of that downward angle, it actually lets you see a little bit further ahead than if you have just the strictly overhead angle, at least if you're sort of viewing in the direction of your motion. And yeah, you actually get an automatic egg on the first floor as well, which is fairly useless. So yeah, typically you have to identify eggs before you can tell what's inside them. But unlike with most roguelikes, the eggs are the names of the show. How to describe this? Basically, the I have no idea what I'm saying here, so just forget it. Okay, it'll be easier to explain once we actually get our menu here. So yeah, here you can see we've got an indigo egg, and if we identify that with, I think the truth glasses are the item that you use to identify things in this game. If you use truth glasses on that, it'll tell you, it's like, oh, this is a Pulunpa egg, or Pulunpa, or however it's pronounced. But if I'm not mistaken, though, I believe that, like, or actually indigo, is that normal? I don't know. Yeah, basically you can't tell what kind of monster you're gonna get unless you identify the egg. And so the way eggs work is you can hatch them in the tower, but if you do that, then you don't get to keep them. It's just basically kind of basically a one-shot kind of thing, where you'll only have that monster for that tower run. But the benefit of that is that, okay, that here is just explaining the thing with the, here is just explaining what I did before about the AI stuff. Also, this game has an element system where every single monster in the game is either a fire, water, or wind type, so much simpler than Pokemon. Not a lot of different nonsense like shadow, ghost, psychic, bug, poison, etc. like in Pokemon. It's just water, fire, wind. Water beats wind, wind beats water, water beats fire. Basic rock, paper, scissors type thing. And our default monster here, our Baku friend, is a fire type, so... And yeah, that's a lot of the motivation for sort of you wanting to have a big... or at least 3 monsters to choose from, basically, because yeah, if you just put all of... Similar to in Pokemon, if you just put all of your experience and just train only one monster, you will not... That monster will not be very effective when you come up against... whatever type of monster that guy's weak to. And yeah, here he's explaining basically the same stuff I did before about changing your monster's AI. But anyways, yeah, you can hatch eggs in the tower to get the monster. The benefit of that is that the monsters hatched in the tower will actually start out at the same level that you do, so they can actually be very powerful allies and fairly useful for getting out of sticky situations if, say, you have an identified egg that you know is a monster that you don't necessarily want. On the other hand, though, if you manage to take items back to town, and I just realized I forgot to equip my items here. If you take the eggs back to town, though, they sell for a good amount of money. Or if you don't want to sell them, you can hatch the egg in your little monster hatchery in your house, and then that lets you keep the monster as sort of a permanent pet, basically. Although, yeah, if you take it back with you and hatch it that way, then those guys will start at level 1, and you'll have to spend a fair amount of time leveling them up, especially if you want to use that as kind of an endgame monster. Here he's just explaining HP recovery. You can wait by pressing circle and triangle. But yeah, those are basically the three uses for monster eggs. Is you can hatch them in the tower to have sort of a powerful temporary ally. You can hatch them in town to sort of add a monster to your collection and train them up that way to have sort of a permanent ally that you sort of train and take with you throughout multiple tower runs. Oh, by the way, yeah, I think they probably mentioned this earlier in the tutorial, but the whole point of training monsters in this game is basically similar to other kind of mystery dungeon roguelike games. Every single time you enter the tower, your character resets to level 1, so there's no point to leveling up your character whatsoever. You'll just always get reset back down, or at least no long-term point. It's obviously good for survivability's sake on a given run to stay at a decent level, but on the other hand, your monsters, and yeah, here he's just telling us how to feed stuff to our monster. Oh yeah, and also, yeah, different types of... Basically, there are different types of food you can feed to your monster. Basically, what he's trying to get at there is that if there are certain kind of quasi-useless items that you can find just lying around the place, that always annoys me, that quit is your default option there. I often end up hitting that by accident. Oh good, we've got some sleeping monsters here that I totally whiffed. I believe these guys are wind types, so this is actually pretty good for us, at least if we wouldn't miss like an idiot. Okay, there we go. Although actually, it actually can be a little bit tricky to survive on this first run, just because you only get the one monster on the first floor, so you're at kind of behind on levels on this second floor. And in fact, if it's your first time, come on, get over here. If it's your first time through the game, actually, this game, oh my goodness, oh that's a lot of monsters. It is pretty rare to find monsters clustered this densely this early on, and oh my goodness, oh this is gonna, I think this is gonna be a quick run, guys. Oh my goodness. Okay, so, oh this is dreadful. Okay, I think what we actually want to do is we just run the hell away. Okay, yeah, let him take some of that damage there. I think what we want to do is we want to find a choke point, and then yeah, okay, good, and then we can fight them one at a time. Okay, and I think I believe we got, oh wait, no, this is not a choke point at all. Oh yeah, so yeah, the whole grab and carry mechanic is, can be used on certain monsters as well, and actually even enemy monsters, as it turns out. I believe these guys can actually do, man, I was really not hoping that I wouldn't have to, or actually, you know what I can do? So this pull-and egg is... So yeah, monster eggs are worth a fair bit of money in town if you sell them, typically. And yeah, I think I got sidetracked before. That's the third use for monsters. If instead of hatching them, you take it back to town and sell it, they're usually worth... In fact, yeah, monster eggs are typically the most valuable items in the game in terms of selling for money. Let's see, this fire will probably one-shot these guys, but... Actually, yeah, I think a medicinal herb might not even cut it, but then fire... Okay, we've got some white sand, which is actually good for later in the... I'm gonna see if I can withstand one hit, although if it's critical, I will definitely die. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna use the medicinal herb. And actually, I believe the way monster AI works in this game is that those guys who are blocked off might actually just end up marching back the other way and just not even bothering us after this. Okay, that whole bridge level has increased thing is... Okay, I guess I was wrong. It's basically just your monsters level up their magic spells at the same time that they level up. Might seem a bit weird that they even bother making that distinction if a monster's level is always the same as his spell level. I'll explain a bit more about ways that monsters... I'll explain a bit more about spell levels later on when it becomes relevant. So, yeah. Oh, good. Okay, good. We're actually making some decent amount of experience out of this, which is very good. Oh, we can one-shot dudes now, which is great. Or at least we can one-shot wind dudes. So yeah, this is basically, yeah, as you can see right here, if you've ever played any of these kind of light roguelike mystery dungeon type games, this is pretty much your standard one, except they've got those, yeah, they've got sort of the added kind of monster collection, you know, Pokemon element to it. Ooh, a Scorched Shield. That is actually a good find for this early in the dungeon. So yeah, that's got way more defense. Oh, it was cursed. Of course it was cursed. Oh, God. Well, even then, even though it's... hey, 5 minus 1 is still better than 2. I believe I did my math right there. I'm not sure... I don't remember if... So yeah, this is a elemental shield, so it'll give me extra defense against fire. I don't remember whether or not it gives you a defensive penalty against, like, the element that it's weak to. In fact, I don't even remember if it was fire. Yeah, like, does the fire shield defend against fire, or does it defend against wind? Which is, you know, the element that fire is strong against. I actually don't remember. And I also don't remember if they give you a defensive penalty to the thing that fire is weak against. So... oh, well, I guess it's all irrelevant anyways, because even if I wanted to unequip this thing, I couldn't. So, so there's actually, apart from just kind of, you know, going through the tower, just trying to make it to the top, like I was saying earlier, there are certain goals that you can kind of strive for. Basically, there are certain kind of checkpoints in the tower, certain kind of almost kind of plot-related items. Basically, items that you can find in the tower that will advance certain kind of plot threads in town. And what I'm actually doing here is I just want to make sure that I level up just a bit more before the next floor. So I'm just going to hang out by the exit until the floor collapses, which is a thing that will happen eventually. If you wait around too long, you can't... yeah, the game will not let you just sit around and just farm up, just farm experience all day on one floor. Eventually, well, you'll see what happens eventually, but yeah, basically you get kicked off the floor if you hang around too much, which is actually not often a bad... there's almost no detriment to it. Like, basically, if you want to hang around and try to get the maximum amount of experience possible, you can do that, and there's basically no downside to it. The only bad thing about that is you lose the opportunity to save your game. The only way you can ever... the only way you ever have that save and exit option I was talking about, and actually I think I might... so yeah, fire is not going to be effective against this fire dude, so I think what I actually want to do is get this guy to attack, get Baku to attack directly here, just to get a bit more damage on him, because this guy... yeah, these fire knights can actually be fairly deadly. They have a magic spell that could be pretty... oh shit, I forgot about that. So a lot of the advanced tactics in this game, if you want to call it that, or basically what separates the good Azure Dreams players from kind of the noobs is basically just knowing some of these advanced techniques you can use to just kind of basically manipulate your monster into not doing stupid things. So like right here, your monsters have kind of a... your pet monsters have kind of a detection radius of 2 squares. So right now Baku can see that troll over there, so he's basically going to try and run forward and attack him like an idiot and basically ensure that the troll gets the first strike. So if you want to prevent that, you can actually assign direct orders to your familiars. So here you see I can tell him to move forward 1, I can tell him to attack the space in front of him. You can direct them to cast magic spells, and as far as I know, this is the only way that your familiars will only ever... the only way that they'll use spells other than mixture magic is you have to tell them to cast it, or you can tell them to stay and do nothing, and that'll let me just do a wait there, and then that order will only last for 1 turn. So as you can see now, we attack, and yeah, my monster attacks, and we get the first strike because I prevented my familiar from moving forward and getting hit like an idiot. Although if you don't want to go through all that menu nonsense, there's actually a faster way to do it, which is simply to pick him up and put him down. And then if you do that, he basically misses a turn. And then that's kind of a slightly faster way to do that kind of just a little bit of quick monster AI manipulation that you can do to, again, basically just kind of keep your familiar from doing stupid things like letting the enemies get the first strike. We're not getting a lot of experience at this point, so I might as well move up. So for this, anyways, like I was saying, there are certain, basically there are certain items that you are hard-coded. Oh, damn. So you can actually pick up things in this game, and it doesn't cost an action. But yeah, there are elevation advantages. Basically, you deal more damage and take less damage if you're attacking an enemy from a higher elevation. So that's why I needed to move back there and let the flame there get the first strike, is because I didn't want to be attacking from downhill. Kind of similar to, I think there were similar height mechanics in basically tactical RPG. Oh wow! Oh my goodness! This is like just a treasure smorgasbord right here.